Hey, good morning, you guys. Welcome back to Steampunk Psyche. If you're brand new here, I'm JT. I do tarot reading. I also enjoy really talking about life, love, relationships, and the matters of the heart, things like that. I'm a 53-year-old tarot reader and love, life, relationship person. You notice I'm not going to say coach. I don't think I have a title of coach. I feel like just anything that I've learned in life and I can share with you that might be valuable or something, try to get vulnerable. I feel like, maybe that might be worth somebody hearing and maybe understanding, you know. But today what I want to talk about is, and if you are interested in this topic, it's all over the internet, it has been for years now, but trying to get down to earth with the whole spiritual awakening crew, the tarot reading, and just kind of the community of well being, has really seemed like it's gotten um, just kind of caters to people, and I don't know that sometimes that really does. I think it does more harm than it does good. Not to say that there aren't there's not valuable information out there, but I just sometimes I watch a lot of it myself, and so sometimes I kind of feel like it's clickbait, and it's there for views. So I really don't want to be that kind of person that does that. So what I would like to do is I'm kind of more of a better writer than I am a speaker, and I can speak okay, but I'm saying I wrote my ideas down in my journal yesterday, and so I'd like to read that to you first to kind of give you an idea of what it is I'd like to talk about and go through. And maybe you've experienced this. And if you have experienced something like this, hang with me and we're going to talk about it. And I hope that maybe something like a good conversation can come out of this at least. So, anyway, here I go. I'm going to read this to you, what I've written, and then I will begin to talk about my own experience, and maybe you might jive with that, okay? All right, so our thoughts can become so heavy that trying to understand them feels impossible sometimes, like being handed a quantum mechanics problem when you've only learned basic math, okay? And then life adds its own mystery. And one moment you're fine, and the next you're thrown into a state of mind as reckless as, or as unpredictable as, a room full of, say teenagers with a, cooler full of booze, right? Um, So for some, it begins maybe with a catastrophe, and for others, maybe it was an accident that you suffered or at the workplace or something, or a divorce, a breakup of a relationship, or just simply waking up one morning and realizing that everything, and I mean everything, has changed. Right? Your likes, your dislikes, your career path, your beliefs, your marriage. Even the relationship that you're having with yourself, all of it just begins to crumble, okay? The walls of your old identity collapse like a tower that's built on the sand, okay? All right, so hang with me here. I'm just trying to read off to you, but we'll get there. But as each stone falls, you're forced to face not only the labor that built it, but the emotions you cemented into place. You question every detail of your life. Every belief system you created becomes something you must now dismantle. The way you loved, the way you worked, the way you lived, all of it shatters at your feet. And in the moment, all you can see is the emptiness that was left behind, okay? A hollow space flavored with sadness and a hint of discontent. And what does any of it mean? So you begin as the fool, a new student scrambling to understand what's happening. Then you become the high priestess, the hierophant, the hermit. You run down every rabbit hole searching for answers from people who may not understand a damn word you're trying to say. Every archetype in the major arcana becomes a lived lesson, and you walk through each one alone. Trusting anyone else with this kind of, transformation, it feels impossible. So you search for a name for what your experience is all about, or what's happening to you. Am I awakened? Right? Am I a star seed? Am I a seeker? Am I clairvoyant? Do I even know what I am? You question consciousness, duality, reality itself, and beneath it all, the quiet fear, am I going crazy? Yeah. It feels like being thrown into a kiln, for refinement, burned until the lesson reveals itself. No teacher, no guide, only a slow realization that the entire journey was always about learning to trust yourself. But you don't discover that until about the last chapter, right? Where your old identity burns away. And just when you think you've found some understanding, life throws you a curveball and you're pushed into hermit mode. The world keeps moving, but your life dims to a slow, steady hum. Some days the only thing you can do is sleep, and for some, this can last for years. It's like being a child again, watching the rain pour down outside while the lightning keeps you trapped indoors. Everyone else seems to be living their lives, and you're curled under blankets, holding on to your own sanity. And just when you gather the strength to step into the sun, another wave of old emotion crashes over you, and you try to breathe, but instead you choke on the past, on shame, on remorse, on memories that you had buried. Hope feels distant. Smiling hurts. And the question rises, what is wrong with me? But slowly, piece by piece, something new forms. A stranger looks out through your eyes. Someone unfamiliar. Someone without a name. Your old identity no longer fits. Your mind becomes new soil, and something unexpected begins to grow. Trust in yourself deepens. Experience reshapes your thinking, and you realize that the loneliness you once feared was actually a quiet death, the shedding of who you used to be. Each moment of suffering was an initiation into who you were becoming. You transmute the fragments of your past into something profound. You discover that you were the change all along, and that realization shakes you to the core. You are not what you once seemed. You are that which is, something beyond the old dimension of your life, something without a name. I wrote that yesterday because I felt this really, really heavy energy, and I have been feeling it for a little bit. I actually hadn't been doing my tarot readings for the last couple of weeks. I finished up with the third quarter reading, so if you are a returning subscriber, I apologize. The thing about it is this wellness community, it just seems to be getting out of hand. And the thing of it is there's kind of this glorified, um, I think there's kind of a glorified view about, spiritual awakening and enlightenment. And not a lot of people talk about the pain. They don't really talk about, and maybe they do. I watch a lot of different readers. I watch a lot of different topics, Um, but for me personally, it's been excruciating. Um, kind of like, when my identity fell away, it really put me into a state of depression and a loneliness. I have family around me, but the truth is I just didn't feel connected to them at all. Like I couldn't share any of it because I don't want to burden them with this because, I'm supposed to be the tough guy, right? I'm supposed to be the leader of the family and, so, the support, the backbone and things. And, I grew up, kind of like believing that, that was my responsibility. And, so I've always been the guy to try to make ends meet and work with what I've got, that type of thing. So really reaching out to, try to, ask for help or share these things, it felt like I was putting a burden on them as well. But for me personally, my true awakening happened really about 10 years ago. And, I don't like to go backwards in time. I feel like that I try to keep the momentum of things that I feel like maybe were a little negative in the past, but just for sake of clarity here, my situation happened with an accident at work, and long story short, um, I had a lot of time on my hands. I had a lot of time on my hands, and which never really happened in my life before. I was always busy working a lot, and trying to do the dad thing, trying to do the husband thing, trying to do the friend thing, the party thing, the life thing. Okay, and but um, so this slowed me down. I was not able to get out and about. Okay, so I injured my feet, both feet, and I was in a wheelchair for a while and just learning to walk again. And well, it pretty much changed my whole career path. I was not able to do anymore what I did for years. Okay, and well, along the way, what I'm getting at is that I experienced a loneliness. Like the people that I thought were friends, and don't get me wrong, I don't want to go down that road, and I'm not trying to point my fingers at anybody or anything like that, but I realized they were acquaintances. I realized things like the people that I thought should support me weren't there. So I kind of went through that deal. It was kind of a pity party, pretty much, and I think that's understandable. I think people really understand that kind of thing. So like I said, I'm not trying to point my fingers at anybody because it's not their responsibility, it's mine. But that takes a little bit of effort to try to figure that out. I mean, so it took a long time being with myself. Our whole dynamic shifted. Where I was the person bringing home the money and the finances. Now my wife, who was the stay-at-home mom. We made an agreement when we got together that there was going to be somebody there for our kids. Both of my parents were worked. I'm a kid from the 70s and 80s, so you can imagine. I mean, the Gen X generation. Our parents were, get your ass out, and when the sun goes down and the street lights come on, get your ass back in the house. But that type of thing, and I'm not complaining about that. My parents did the very best that they could with what they were working with. Okay, so I don't like to blame anything anymore, but that also was a lesson that I had to learn along this way. And so it would be impossible to go through every little scenario, but I feel like a lot of people can understand this, especially if you've been in this situation. Like I said, so maybe you went through a hellish divorce, or a karmic relationship where you learned lessons from this. Um, but this really put me in a state of mind of of having to be alone a lot. All the kids were in school, mom's at work, so I had a lot of time. There were people in my family that reached out to me, but I just secluded, I isolated, because I was trying to understand my own brain. I realized how much ambient noise was taking place. True ambient noise, exterior than me, from sirens, cars. I was used to working in an environment, construction environment. I was an electrician, and so I was around, hammer drills, and I was around, uh, you know, um, people building walls and pouring concrete, and just commotion of big trucks, cement trucks, and diesels, and excavators, and you name it, right? So there was a lot of ambient noise I was used to, not to mention the city traffic and the streets, and what have you, and then just noise in general from our own work tools and environment, right? I was used to being in an environment where there were peers around you, And then all of a sudden it's gone. Okay. So it's kind of like the switch got flipped and all the ambient noise turned off. And all I heard for the longest time was just this constant buzzing in my head of ambient noise. So I know that may be like, well, dude, what's the big deal? But try it. Get in a room that is, soundproof, and listen to the pressure on your head when you shut that door. You'll feel the pressure. You'll hear the ambient noise, but it takes a while for it to become silent. So I kind of went down that road of what the hell is this all about? Uh, just how much noise is really disturbing my head, how much noise is traffic going on in my brain, and then that sent me down a rabbit hole. So I spent probably 14 years of studying really heavily upon, spiritualist type matters anyway. Okay, 14 to 15 years, not to mention the first 25 years of studying the Bible and Christianity and different aspects of Mesopotamia and different things like that. But as far as religious, I had kind of touched the surface of lots of different religion and things. I don't claim any religion, and I do not. I have no ill will towards any religion. Don't get me wrong. But what I'm saying is, I already had kind of a spiritualist, religious background anyway, and so with all that downtime, uh, a lot of things came to mind that about my spirituality, about who I was. Like um, and questions that I had that there's just nobody could answer for me. So I kind of probably did like you do. You watch YouTube, or I personally like to read books to get online, and I use the Library of Congress a lot, and I'll check out books and things like that. Um, but really, what I needed was I needed an energetic touch because for me personally, um, I felt like there was this energy that was taking place in me was just so extreme that I needed a definition. And like a lot of you, I'm sure words really have a hard time expressing. It's like when somebody says, "Hey, what's wrong?" I hate that, right? I mean, I personally, I'm like, "Oh, well, let me count the ways of what's wrong," right? Well, what's right is that, well, that doesn't feel as bad as it did yesterday. I kind of go down that road. But uh, what I'm getting at is that, um, you know, I feel like there is not a, there's not, my path is not your path, and obvious, right? We all have suffered different uh, uh, stresses, different disorders, things in our life that have shaped us, and our beliefs and things like that. So I don't think that that's the question a lot of people have, that my path is going to go from A to B to C to D, and your path will also go A, B, C to D. And we know this. However, I think there are a lot of kind of a mutual, um, there's kind of a lot of mutual aspects about this enlightened state or awakening state. That a lot of fundamental things that people go through. And so when I read that to you early on, I'm pretty sure that most of you have experienced at least half of what I was talking about. Mine was the mental side, and maybe I suppose, in one degree, maybe it depends on how much trauma you have suffered in your life. Maybe what particular relationships hurt a lot, betrayals, or um, everything from um alcoholism abuse to narcissism. There's such a rabbit hole to go down, right? And but I started looking at every aspect of myself. I called myself out on every damn thing that I had done in my life, and every person that I hurt, or the shame, the guilt, the whole everything. And it took me a long time, to finally realize that my brain was a liar. My brain lied to me a lot. You know, I tried to forgive myself for things that I should never have had to try to do, and I didn't love myself and you hear this all the time, love yourself, and those words, they sound really great, but when you're in a place that's dark, that's gray, and you don't have a lifeline, um, those are just words, and they don't really mean anything because you have so much momentum, excuse me, so much momentum built into that. Um, so I've had to kind of self-help, and I probably should have seen a psychiatrist, I'm sure. But I also felt like I didn't trust people. I really didn't trust. There's so much information out there, and and not to say I am not a professional in any way, and so I'm not saying that negatively about psychiatrists or anything like that, because there are people who can help. But what I am saying for me is that I'm the type of learner that I have to do it on my own. I have to experience it. If I don't take an interest in it, then I don't really learn from it. That's just my learning disability, I suppose, is what you might call it, label it. I'm not really a label guy, but there you go. But for me, I have to experience it. I have to really want something in order for me to really, take advantage of it. And so I did, because each and every day, as I'm journaling, writing down my thoughts, and believe me, you don't want to see those thoughts. In fact, I've got a stack of thoughts that probably need to be burnt, given back to the universe, because I think I'm done with that. But what I am saying is, so journal took on a very big role for me. So, and I'm sure you're the same way, journaling your thoughts down. And at the time when I was doing it, I thought, what the hell is all this? What does this really do? Um, Affirmations, So what is all of this? What am I getting to? It's like, in a roundabout way, what I kind of feel like is that the internet's really chocked full of a whole lot of tools, right? And we know this, that's like a no-brainer. But I think for me personally, it was just taking each day, day by day. And believe me, there were days all I could do was sleep. I mean, I think I probably slept 5 years of my life, and I know that sounds terrible, but the thing of it is that that's about all I could do. Honestly, about all I could do was just sleep, because my mind had been so wired to performing, to being, to having to be this, having to be that, and then when I realized that I didn't have to be all those things for everybody else, and that's really what I was doing, learning my own behavioral patterns that I had been doing for years and years, you know, and I went through kind of like an Alcoholics Anonymous type, uh, an anger stage, and then a self-loathing stage, this whole, pity me stage, and just it was just so god awful. I don't know what else to say. Um, but I know there's hope. And if you're in this situation right now, I'm here to tell you there is hope. There is definitely hope. What was happening it was just really coming to the understanding that I'm my own damn man, you know, uh, and what I think matters personally, what I feel matters, the things that I say matter. I matter, but when you're used to beating up on yourself, when you're used to being your own worst critic and tearing yourself down, you're probably the biggest on doing that to yourself. You get in the habit of that, and so starting new habits was very hard for me to do. Okay, and maybe you've been in this position as well. But anyway, so uh, long story short, I could probably talk about this forever and a day. And if you're interested in hearing more or something like that, let me know in the comments. But I just wanted to come on and share this. And I wanted to apologize for not getting my readings out. I think, we still go through. I don't think it ever ends, is what I'm getting at. And I think if you can just understand that it's day by day, it's state of mind, that some days are great. It's the pendulum effect. One day you're up, and the next day you're going, how the hell could I be so low today? You know, and beating up on yourself for feeling that way. It's like, what in the hell? We're human, you guys. We're human beings, and There is not enough. Uh, I don't think there's enough. Um, we don't give ourselves enough relief, for being human, for thinking thoughts that we probably, anybody else heard your thoughts, they'd be like, man, you're tilted. But the thing of it is I think these are natural behaviors, mechanisms that help us, cope. We have thoughts that sometimes they take us down, and sometimes we do it to ourselves deliberately because we've been used to that, and that's a comfort zone. So there's just lots of different things and lots of different aspects that you're going to go through, um, and you're learning about yourself when you really, really, really take the time to do that work. It does get better, um, but I don't think it ever ends. I kind of feel like, you know, there are fragments of your past that always kind of remain, and but they mutate into something different. So the things that I felt the most strong about when this first started happening, they no longer have the same weight. If that makes sense, they no longer hurt me in the heart space the way they used to. If you can understand that, I used to have a really really bad time with angst in the solar chakra area, my stomach area. It's where I carried most of my grief, most of my pain, my suffering. And I think a lot of us do this too. A lot of us carry it in the heart space, which is why a lot of us have heart disease and heart problems. But uh, like I said, I'm not a doctor, but I really truly believe that anxiety is the biggest cause of most illness. Um, so I think it's very important that we work on that. I mean, anyway, needless to say, like I said, I carried a lot of that angst in the solar plexus area, in the gut area. And I started to learn how to make that feel better. And if you're like me in that situation, it takes time. It just does take time. It took you years to build, right? And it took like minutes to tear it down. But it's like what you're trying to do is take those fragmented parts, make sense of them, and put them back together. And that's going to take time. Okay. So it's like a jigsaw puzzle, and one day it feels like it's complete, like you're done. You could go through a stage where you feel like for a few weeks, everything is just like, hey, I got this baby licked. This is good. And then the next week, it's like I want to just curl up into a ball and just cry, or I need a hug, but I don't want to. I don't want nobody to touch me. Leave me alone. I mean, it's so. Allow space to forgive yourself. Allow time to heal. It does happen, and it does begin to feel better. But you take on kind of a new identity. Really, I'm not the same man that I was. Um, I don't. I don't enjoy being around the same people I used to enjoy being around. Um, I'm more of an energetic person now. I feel through energy. I feel safety when people um, when I energetically connect with them. I can feel this now. It's different. Words used to do it before I understood who I was. Words could suffice, you know, uh, but now I can see right through you. Now I can see into your souls. I can look into your eyes, and I know if you're honest with me. I know if you're telling me the truth, you know. And this is part of what happens. So, yeah, you are clairvoyant. Yeah, you are an empath. Yeah, you do become uh, you become the soul that you always were. I know these are just sound like words, but you become that energetic force that sees all, knows all in a way. It's a knowing, uh, and but that doesn't always. It's temporary, is what I'm saying. If you declare to be the master tomorrow, you're about to be the student. You know, so I just kind of take on the attitude that I'm always going to try to remain to be the student, and learn, because like I said, there's always ups, there's downs, and karma is not a bitch. I just want to say that to you, and I hope nobody takes offense by that, but Karma is most exact, okay, and not biased at all. So try to keep your thoughts. Uh, Try to keep your thoughts in your space. You know what I mean? And take it easy on yourself. Give yourself room for forgiveness. Give yourself plenty of rest. Feed your body with, you know, good healthy foods, the best that you can. Don't get me wrong. I love some pizza and a burger. I'll tear them up. You know, and I don't drink a lot of pop anymore. I used to do a lot of energy drinks and stuff like that, you know, just because shit, I was tired all the time, right? I do smoke cigarettes and drink coffee, and I shouldn't, but fuck, I love it. It's who I am. Um, but what I'm just saying is, you know, try to feed your body the best you can during this time, is what I'm getting at, because that helps. Um, you know, surround yourself with things you love, passions, desires, art, music. It doesn't have to be people. Find your a self a spot in your home or your trailer or your you know, apartment, wherever you can, even if it's a 5 by 5. I'm in like an 11 by 11 little space right here, and I've claimed it. You know, it's my zen. It's my place of peace where I come here and uh, you know, I can bask in my own thoughts here and feel comfortable and safe. And sometimes you might need to do that. And I don't think that's a scary thing. You know, a personal shrine for yourself. And if you're a religious person, I mean no disrespect, but um, Jesus even had to go off by himself. You know what I'm saying? So he had to get away from people. You know, the energies of people, and so I kind of believe that. You know, I feel like, you know, it's there. It's proper and right for you to find your own little Zen time, your own place, and do the best that you can. I know work gets hard, family life gets hard, relationships get hard, things get tough, and they drag you away uh, from peace and things, because there are responsibilities that we take on, um, and I understand that, you know, but by all means, and I say this in love and respect for you, take the time to meditate, take the time to love yourself, give yourself permission to do that, you know. Anyway, you guys, I hope you got something from this. I just wanted to kind of get on here and talk about it. I will be starting up the tarot readings again, and if you enjoyed this kind of topic or this way of a video, let me know in the comments. You know, if you liked it, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please come in to Steampunk Psyche and check out, you know, some of the tarot readings if you want to, or just stick around and hang with me, okay? And we'll build this community together. Anyway, I love you guys, and I'm going to get this posted and hopefully see you on the next one, all right? All right. Bye-bye.